Hey everybody, we are here at Overland Acres and I'm going to give you a little behind the scenes peek at the making of P'ri CBD. So if you've been following along on our hemp growing journey, you got to see our plants growing out in the field, but now we are on to the next steps of the harvesting process. So what that means is we have now taken all of our 700 plus plants out of our backyard and moved them on to different stages of our production process. So that means that we've taken them into our drying unit, which is also known as our garage. And in here, we've cut the plants apart and allowed the plant branches to dry on these drying racks, which, as you can see, are 4 by 8 foot frames that are made out of 2x4s with some wire mesh that's stretched across the top. And so these frames are stackable, and there have been times in the last few weeks where they have been as high as the ceiling and from wall to wall here in our garage. So as you can see, we have come a long way in that process because we are no longer stacked to the ceiling with our drying racks. But here's what happens next. As these little branches are drying down, on the drying racks like this, we've been running some fans and dehumidifiers in here to get them to dry down nicely, because what we need to do is we need to pick off all these little crusty leaves so that what you're left with are these buds, okay? So what we want in the end is something that looks like this. So these buds right here are what will go on in our CBD extraction process. Now, getting these buds off of the plants is a pretty labor-intense process. And luckily, we have had a lot of help from friends and family and neighbors that have come over and given us a chance, or given us some help with harvesting these little guys. So we are very grateful to everybody that showed up to help us out with harvest, because we definitely had a lot of people that showed their support for our project by giving us a hand with that. But what happens next with these buds is that we're going to take them to our local processor, and that's where they're going to undergo a carbon dioxide based extraction process. So that is the next step. It's very similar to what's used for essential oil processing, and that is the next step in making a full spectrum hemp extract. And that full spectrum hemp extract is rich in CBDs, the goodies. So as we go farther along in that process, I'll keep you updated on how things are going with that as well. But this is just a little behind the scenes tour of how things are going and where we are at with our harvesting and production process for P'ri CBD. And also, I want to remind you that if you have any questions about P'ri or CBD or growing hemp, please shoot them my way. Send me a direct message on Facebook or Instagram, because on Thursday, I'm going to launch the very first P'ri CBD Q&A. So what is that? Well, that's a chance for you to ask questions about things that you're curious about when it comes to P'ri and hemp and CBD. And I will choose one of those questions each week to address in a video question and answer format. But the cool part is that anybody who submits a question gets their name in a drawing to win a free bottle of P'ri at the end of the month. So keep those questions coming in. I've definitely gotten some really good ones already, and I'm excited to dig into those and to answer some of those questions that you guys have later this week and beyond. So thank you very much for tuning in for this little behind the scenes sneak peek at the processing and the harvesting and soon to be processing of P'ri CBD.